All right, Rob. Well, we started off talking about the Mets, a little bit at least, and your childhood team that you rooted for. They went for it this year, and it went south. It just wasn't good. They spent all that money, brought in Max Scherzer, brought in Justin Verlander, gave him $86 million 2 year, $86 million contract or something like that. But they went for it and failed miserably. And they're in fourth place in the NL East, about close to 20 games back on the Atlanta Braves, the leaders. They weren't gonna make the wild card, and so they became sellers, Rob, and they made 4 trades. Of course, Scherzer and Verlander, the big ones. Verlander, they're sending back to the Houston Astros, where he has won 2 World Series already, and looks like he has a good chance for a third, as they're playing some good baseball and they'll be in the postseason. So, Rob, disappointing situation for New Yorkers who root for the Mets. Where are you at on this?
Chris, I got 2 things. And people, Mets fans, and have a right to be angry and disappointed and, bummed out that here we are August 1st and they're sellers and they're not going to the postseason. This is a team that won 101 games last year, Chris, and returned a lot of the same players. The only big change was that they added Justin Verlander, who was the comeback player of the year and the American League Cy Young Award winner. That's who they added. So you can be mad, and I hear people, the Mets learned you guys can't spend money. I get it. Highest payroll in the history of baseball, Chris. Guilty as charged, the New York Mets. But Steve Cohen, of course, who is the Mets owner, who's like a billionaire 3 or 4 times over, who grew up on Long Island and grew up as a Mets fan and all that and wants his team to win, and I love all that. I'm not going to beat him up because he went out and he tried to add to a pitching staff with a Justin Verlander who pitched very well last year. Remember, he was off the year before, Chris, so it wasn't like, he's old and this and that. Well, you thought with the injury and rehab, he missed a year. But anyway,
he's been pitching well lately too.
Yeah, and he has been pitching well.
He's been pitching very well.
It didn't work. It just for whatever reason, guys didn't hit. The pitching didn't work. Scherzer and Verlander, both older pitchers. I guess they rolled the dice, Chris, with older pitchers. The Mets did have Marcus Stroman, who's having a great year for the Cubs, and also from the Phillies, Taijuan Walker, Chris, who has the most wins in the National League, right? They had both of those guys, younger pitchers, but they chose for the more experienced guys and the guys who have pitched in the big games and been to the World Series and whatnot. And guess what? It was an epic fail, but I'm never going to be mad at an owner trying to win a World Series. And that's what he's done. The Mets have won 2 World Series, 1969 and 1986. This guy thought if he secured, remember, he's got money. He's out there trying to build a team, and it just failed. But here's the big part. I admire and I respect that they didn't stand pat, Chris, trying to save face like, oh, no, we're not trading Verlander. We're not trading Scherzer. We'll reload for next year. They just said, you know what? This didn't work. It's probably not going to work as they get a year older. So we're going to cut bait, get whatever we can get, and move forward. So, the Mets tried.
Scherzer's saying that they're not even going to be, trying to win. Obviously, you try to win the games, but that they're rebuilding for not just next year, but the year after. Like, they understand that, this is going to be a process and that they're rebuilding for further down the road.
I don't know if you can.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you can rebuild that far down the road in New York, Chris. People could say whatever they strip down a team and beat the Pittsburgh Pirates and stink for 6 or 8 years. I don't know if you could do that in that market.
A good point.
I just don't think that that's really real. And now once you've gotten rid of those guys, is it Shohei Ohtani? Do you go all in on him to make a splash? They tried, so I'm not going to beat them over the head. It failed. It failed miserably. But I'm not mad at them for trying, and I'm glad that they bailed when they did, because that's the right thing to do.
I got to be honest. I agree.
Do you?
I agree. Because, they went for it, and if they had stubbornly tried to get back in the postseason race and came up short, which they likely would have done,
right?
And now you're stuck with these contracts, what's going to happen next year? And so they quickly, I do agree as well that I would be trying to win next year. And you don't always need the big names, Rob.
No.
Win. They got some good young prospects. I don't know how soon those guys will contribute, but they got some good young prospects. But I don't know. I mean, you can never count them out with the big spending owner of the Ohtani situation, but I doubt that they get him. They may not even go for him. But he's looking to win. They don't look right now like a team you would think is going to win.
I agree with that. Like what happened this year does not help them in the Ohtani sweepstakes.
And I'll say this too, Rob. I don't know what are they possibly thinking about. I mean, obviously not this year, but I would keep Pete Alonso. I mean, I would not be looking to move him. Obviously, again, that would be in the future. But he's one of the draws with his big bat, with the home runs. And so that speaks to kind of, he's only 28. He could be there for a long time. When you do get good again, if he can stay healthy, I think he's a keeper, unless
and let me say this,
hurt or something like that.
Chris, a tweet's out there from Bob Nightingale, the fine baseball columnist from USA Today, one of the best in the business. He's already tweeted out there, Chris, that they're out of the Ohtani sweepstakes.
Oh, really?
So he's already put that out there. So that's
just
not going to be in there.
They don't want to spend, or
after that bloodbath,
maybe just
money
the fact
wise,
that Ohtani wouldn't consider me anyway.
Yeah, not in the state that they're in. I think that's why, because you might as well stay with the Angels if you're going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and we had Alex Curry on last week who talked about him liking the West Coast anyway.
Right.
So if he
closer
does
to Japan
east,
and everything, right?
If he comes east, it's going to be to win, which means the Yankees. And so, I that makes all the sense in the world that they're out of this.